Hello everyone, welcome to another video. Today I want to share with you how I created this scene with the brand new Doggone Christmas stamp set from Joy Clair Stamps. Here's a closer look at what I used to make my card today. Now you can grab your supplies and come back and make this card with me, or you can come back here and reference this list if you have any questions about what I used today. So first of all, here's a look at this brand new set. It is called Doggone Christmas. This set is going to be perfect for all the animal lovers in your life that you need to make some Christmas cards for. So the first thing I'm going to do is stamp out my images. I'm going to be coloring with my alcohol markers today. So I'm using my favorite ink. I'm using Memento Tuxedo Black ink. It works really well with my alcohol markers and it doesn't bleed whenever I color. So I am stamping these images down onto regular plain white cardstock. I do have a piece of fun foam underneath while I'm stamping. That is because I am not the best stamper. This helps me get a really good impression when I'm not using my stamp positioner. But I didn't feel like switching all of my cardstocks out and everything. So I'm just using an acrylic black, but that fun foam helps me get really good impressions. So I'm just switching out different stamps here. I went ahead and stamped out the little dog house first, and then I'm going to go ahead and stamp the two little dogs included in the set, and then there are all these little accessories as well. I'm using the little Santa hat, and then I also stamped the two little bones. There's one without a bow and one with a bow. So I'm keeping my color palette pretty Christmassy here. I'm using some reds and greens. You can switch these up, use whatever colors you might want to use. You can even switch them up to fit your recipient, make the dogs match their little puppies that they might have. Be creative. So I'm starting off with red. I colored in the bow, I colored in the little hat, and I also colored in every other light on that strand on the doghouse. Then I'm going to go ahead and switch over to green. I colored in the little dog's scarf on the left-hand side, the tree on the sweater, and I wanted to do that before I went ahead and colored in the rest of the sweater with my reds. And I colored the little collar and also the little bands around the arms green as well. Then on every other light strand on the house, I colored in red, and then I went back and did every other with green. So for my little puppy on the right, I want to keep him pretty white. However, if you ever look at a dog that has white fur, it's not really completely white. So I come in with a little bit of cream and just make little loops here and there and make sure I go in the shadows. Then I come back with an even lighter color. It's called Antique White in mine. You could use a colorless blender if you have Copics and just blend that out a little bit so it's not such harsh lines. Now that does it for that little puppy. He is done. I did add a little bit of cheeks or a little bit of pink to the cheeks, and then I just go back over with my antique white and blend that out so it blends in to his fur. Now for the house, I'm going to color in with a little bit of a caramel color and some yellows. I just thought it went really well with the colors I was using today. You can always switch this up if you have a different color combination in mind. So I started off with some caramel along the wood planks. On the roof and the little area around the dog hole opening, I did go in with some yellows that kind of match that caramel color. Then I'm going to come back in and do my shading with a darker brown. Now once I have my shading down where I think that my shadows are going to be the darkest, I'll go ahead and come back in with my lighter caramel color, and I'll go over all of that coloring that I just did with my darker color and blend that out. Now I went back in with my yellow marker, made sure I intensified that little paw print above the door and also the roof and the area around the opening. Now for my little puppy on the left-hand side, I'm going to color him in with some tans. I start out with my lightest color, come in with my next darkest color. I'm only using 2 colors here. These are pretty small images. You could go up to 3 if you wanted. You could go up to 4 if you wanted. I kept it at 2 for these smaller images. I came in with my darker color, added some shadows, came back in, blended out those shadows with the lighter color, added some tan to his little belly, his snout, and the little place on his back. I also colored in the bones with that antique white to give them a little bit of color as well. Now, next up, I needed to do my die cutting. I am using the mixed rectangle die set from Tonic. These are all from that die set. I die cut a large plain rectangle from white cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and die cut a scalloped rectangle from white cardstock twice, and I die cut the next size up in regular rectangle from red cardstock. Now I want one of those white ones that I cut to become a slope border, like a nice little snowbank. So I used a little slope border die cut that without the stitching because none of my other dies have stitching on them. So I used the non-stitching side, cut that out, and that's ready to go. Now I thought this was turning a little bit plain on me. I like my clean and simple cards, but it needed a little something extra. Well, in this set, there are all these little paw prints. So I went ahead and grabbed 2 solid ones, they're both solid, grabbed them both and stamped them in some red and green dye ink to create my own pattern paper. Then it was time to put this card together. So I put down my snowbank on top of that die cut that it matched, and I just used some fun foam and double-sided adhesive. Next up, I went ahead and put my house down behind that with some glossy accents. I attached the hat onto my little dog that was the white colored dog. Now I'm putting acrylic box over the top of that. That's going to hold everything in place while my glue dries because I am using a liquid glue today. I put down my red mat over my pattern paper that I made. Now I'll go ahead and start attaching my little puppies. Now I do want to say while I'm attaching everything, and you can kind of see what's going on here, I fussy cut my images. However, if you have an electronic die cutting machine, Joy Clair offers free SVG cutting files for all of their stamp sets. So if you have an electronic cutting machine, you buy the stamp set, you can get the SVG files for free. You don't have to do any fussy cutting like I did here. So it's kind of a really nice little addition that you get whenever you purchase your stamps. Now, next up, I'm just going to go ahead and attach my little scene that I created there. I'm using liquid glue. And once that was done, I needed to go ahead and put this entire panel onto an A2 top folding white card base that I made myself. Now you could do a side folding as well here. I just had a top folding already made. That's kind of what I make all the time. So I just had one ready to go. That's why I used that. So on the back of that panel, I applied some double-sided adhesive. I'll go ahead and take off the backing paper and then just center that right on top of that card base. Now for my sentiment today, there were a ton to choose from. I had a really hard time, but I went with have a warm and fuzzy holiday. I stamped that on a flag banner that I die cut from some white cardstock, and I just used some black dye ink. I used my Misty here so I didn't mess anything up with my stamping. Added some fun foam and double-sided adhesive on the back of that. You can use dimensional adhesive, whatever you like best. Then I just popped that up right over the top of that little doggy house, and that's going to completely finish off the card for today. Here's a closer look at that finished card, and also all the dimension you get, and the more dimension you add, the more interest you get on your clean and simple cards. So I have a lot of white going on this card, so I did decide to pop a lot of things up. That makes it a little bit more difficult to go through the mail, but it really is worth it in my opinion. Here are some final looks at the card. You can see all those little accessories added really make the scene shine. Also, I love that the solid stamps are included in this set so I can make my own pattern paper. I don't have to search through my stash for any. That does it for this video today, guys. If you're interested in the supplies, you'll find them all over on this blog post. That link is in the description box below. Don't forget to subscribe, and thanks for watching.